Italy says it has sent a second Navy ship to escort an international flotilla trying to deliver aid to Gaza. The global Sumud flotilla is carrying citizens from 45 countries, including political activist Greta Thunberg, to deliver aid to Palestinians. Italy sent a first frigate yesterday, hours after the flotilla reported explosions, unidentified drones and communications jamming while in Greek waters. Well, for more on this, I'm joined by Middle East correspondent Matthew Doran. Matt, what can you tell us about the latest attacks on this humanitarian flotilla trying to make its way to Gaza?
Yvonne, good evening to you. There are around 50 boats as part of this flotilla, and on Wednesday they reported a drone attack, drones dropping things like stun grenades and itching powder onto some of those boats, and also interrupting their communications, blaring the music of Swedish supergroup ABBA through those radio channels on repeat. Now, the group which is running this flotilla, the global Sumud flotilla, Sumud being an Arabic word used by Palestinians to refer to steadfastness or perseverance. The GSF is saying that it believes Israel is behind this, but we have not heard any express confirmation of that by Israeli authorities, or even any express comment on that issue by Israeli authorities. What we have heard from the Israeli Foreign Ministry is repeated offers to allow this flotilla to dock in an Israeli port to unload its aid supplies, which would then be taken into Gaza. Now, that is something which is quite detached from the purpose of this mission, not only to deliver aid to Gaza, but to highlight this ongoing naval blockade, which the GSF says is illegal. Israel insists it is legal because it has a bearing on Israel's own national security there. So it looks as if this situation will continue to develop over the next few days as that flotilla moves closer and closer towards Gaza. As you mentioned in your introduction, 2 Italian warships have been dispatched to travel with the GSF through the Mediterranean there, but the Italian defence minister is saying that those ships cannot intervene if there is an interception. It cannot provide or protect the safety of those on board once they enter another country's territorial waters, and a Spanish ship is also part of that protection mission there. If we cast our minds back a few months ago when the last flotilla was intercepted off the coast of Gaza, it was much closer to Egypt than it was to Gaza itself, and some of the activists on board were detained by Israeli authorities. They were deported from Israel. They include Greta Thunberg, who is on board this flotilla this time around, and we have heard repeated commentary from senior members of the Israeli government about taking a far harsher stance against these activists this time around, including even placing them in terrorist cells within Israeli prisons while the response, the detaining and the deportation process is carried out.
Meanwhile, Matt, Israeli bombardment continues in Gaza, with the latest killing at least 30 people.
That's right, Yvonne. There is an intensifying stance happening with this Gaza City operation from the Israel Defence Forces. This mission, which has been underway for a number of weeks now, but is certainly gathering pace. We are seeing reports of tanks moving into parts of Gaza City, which the IDF says is one of the last strongholds of Hamas there. Not only in Gaza City, but across the Gaza Strip. The IDF says it has hit more than 170 targets in the last 24 hours, but it has not provided details as to exactly what those targets were, how they were linked to Hamas fighters and facilities. And certainly when we look at the reports coming from hospitals within Gaza, particularly Gaza City, there are many civilians pouring through the doors who are incredibly seriously injured as a result of these operations, including many young children. We will be taking you inside the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza City on ABC News tomorrow to give you an insight into what has been happening in that facility, a hospital which the Israeli authorities say needs to be evacuated, but which doctors say is impossible to do considering the sheer number of patients and the severity of many of their conditions. So that message, or that mission, is continuing without any signs of restraint from the IDF, and it comes as Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, makes his way to the United Nations in New York to address the General Assembly there and then meet with Donald Trump just days after the US President presented his latest proposal for peace to Arab and Muslim majority country leaders in New York.
And Matt, Israel claims at least 20 people have been injured in southern Israel after a drone was launched from Yemen.
Yes, this happened late on Wednesday local time as a drone hit a building in the port city of Eilat in the very far south of Israel. We have seen those reports of people being injured as a result of that, but warning sirens did ring out ahead of that drone hitting the building. The Houthis have been firing drones and missiles at Israel in solidarity with Hamas and the people of Gaza for many, many months now, and they have insisted that they will continue to do so even as Israel launches multiple strikes on Houthi targets within Yemen there. When it comes to the location or the geographic location of Eilat, it is somewhat more vulnerable to these sort of attacks just because of how far south it is, and it is a port city at the top of the Gulf of Aqaba, which leads into the Red Sea. When it comes to missiles and drones being fired at other parts of Israel, such as Tel Aviv or here in Jerusalem where we are, generally they are intercepted well before they make contact with any targets in this part of the country. To give our viewers a sense of just how far away it is, Eilat is at least a 4-hour drive from where we are here in Jerusalem. So it is of course of concern for the local residents there that interception efforts were not successful in this situation, but it just shows that the Houthis are continuing their campaign against Israel without showing any restraint there either.
Middle East correspondent Matthew Doran, thank you.